Welcome back. This is Everywoman, and we're talking about AIDS in South Africa. Now, in 2004, the South African government said it would make anti-retroviral drugs publicly available. Yet by the end of last year, only a third of HIV/AIDS patients were receiving treatment. Now, Thabo Mbeki has pledged to improve access to these drugs, something that civil rights groups have hailed as a turning point. And it wouldn't have come about except for the tireless efforts of campaigners. Campaigners like Itemba Hope, a group of choir singers who are all HIV positive. I'm gonna let it shine, this big light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Every day, yes, yes, every day, every day, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Let's my light shine. Every day.
My name is Zinhle. I was diagnosed HIV positive in the year 2001. I started taking my anti-retrovirals when I was diagnosed as an AIDS patient in March 2002.
Hello, you.
And I'm working as an HIV/AIDS counselor in St. Anne's Clinic.
Before we didn't use condoms. That's why we're pregnant, isn't it? And that is why I have got HIV, because I did not use condom, because I did not know, and because you did not know. And probably
when you've got HIV, then you become an educator. It becomes your duty.
There are many things you should know about anti-retroviral drugs. That's why I will invite you to the training. But at the moment, I'll tell you.
People that will be sitting in that conference probably is one of those people. Amongst these scientists, someone who have saved my life. That's why, for me, it is important to come and see these people, just to lay my eyes on them.
It's Friday today, Monday, Tuesday. So we only have 2 days. People be serious.
One of the missions I have is to take my anti-retroviral drugs exactly as I was told the first day, every day of my life, to prove that if I could do it, then the next person could do it, because it wasn't a miracle. I was taught to do it. So if we can prove that that can happen in South Africa, in such poor settings, in such places, then we can do it. Then we need to be given that chance. Not going to force it, but to will prove diplomatically that we can do it.
If I had a chance, I would have prevented this from happening to me. So I did not know. But my mission now is to help someone else to benefit from this. Not to be selfish and say, because I did not benefit, so everybody must not. No. Someone must benefit from this, from my knowing.
Like the member of Zinhle choir, I am HIV positive. Well, some people say that really poor countries should not get anti-retroviral drugs. They say poor people, uneducated people will not be able to be adherent. But I am adherent to my ARVs. I can tell you that ever since I started medication in April, I have never missed a dose, ever. The word Zinhle means give us hope. You do that with your job. You give us hope.
Well, as we said, the South African government has now announced a draft plan to tackle AIDS and improve anti-retroviral drug access. Well, to talk more about this, I'm joined from Cape Town by Boniswa Seti of the Treatment Action Campaign. Boniswa, thank you very much indeed for joining us. First of all, just tell us about the importance of anti-retroviral drugs. Why are these so vital for people with HIV/AIDS?
The antiretrovirals are actually very important, and the first thing that we need to know is that they are not a cure for AIDS. They don't cure the HIV, but what they do is they decrease the amount of the virus in the person's system, and then they also increase the amount of the CD4 cells, which are the most important cells in a person who's living with HIV. So they give you like an added 10 to 20 years lifespan in essence if you take the antiretrovirals.
And these drugs can help women who have been raped to stave off the possibility of infection, and also mothers with HIV to stop pregnant mothers with HIV to stop mother-to-child transmission.
Absolutely, absolutely. If for instance, a woman or a young girl or anyone else for that matter has been raped, and then they've been exposed, if they go to a site where they can access these drugs, there's a kind of a post-exposure prophylaxis. So that means if you've been exposed to the virus and you get these drugs within a particular time, like let's say 72 hours at most, then they can prevent the actual infection. And for mothers, for HIV-positive pregnant women, and if they access these drugs, that can reduce the chances of them transmitting the virus to their unborn babies.
There's still an awful lot of babies becoming infected in the womb.
Well, actually, if a woman goes to an antenatal clinic and she chooses to be tested for HIV, then that is the woman that is covered. But that also forgets about the woman who delivers at home, who doesn't have access to the clinic, to the antenatal care. So there is still a lot of things that underlying problems in the PMTCT programs.
I know that you do a lot of grassroots work with communities. What is your experience? Are women aware of the kind of help they can get, and do they have access to the right kind of help?
It's such a contrasting image that you get. Women in the Western Cape are accessing and they're getting the help that they deserve. But women in Mpumalanga, for instance, there's only 23% of women who are accessing the uptake of PMTCT is only about 23%. And you ask yourself, why is that? What are the gaps? And we need to do a lot of full-scale mobilization, educate women about these things. But it's going to be pointless to educate women and create a demand for PMTCT if there isn't going to be a supply, if that demand is not going to be met.
And Boniswa, one of the things that came out earlier in the programme is that it is much more difficult for women to access drugs and treatment than it is for men. Would you agree with that, and why is that?
Actually, I would think it's the opposite that's happening. Women are the ones who are accessing treatment. But when it comes to issues of prevention, you get that it's difficult for a woman to initiate using a condom, for instance, if the husband doesn't want to do that. A man of the house has much more control or has more to say about what goes on in terms of prevention, in terms of when actually the sexual activity takes place. So if a woman tells or says something about that, it becomes a problem.
A lot of the positive work that's being done in South Africa with AIDS and HIV communities is done by groups like your own. Should the government be doing more to increase awareness and increase access to the right kind of treatment?
Yes, they should. They should. And we welcome what is being done. We welcome the negotiations and all the documents and the policies that are being drafted. But the problem that is still there is that implementation takes too long. Now we're talking about the idea to roll out dual therapy for all pregnant women in all the 9 provinces of the country. That agreement was done in March, and we're now almost in December, and the implementation has not taken place. So we need to get our government into action.
Boniswa Seti, thank you very much indeed for joining us. And that's it for this week. If you have any comments or suggestions, do email us on everywoman@aljazeera.net. Next week, we're in London for an in-depth look at the rise in so-called honour killings. Until then, from all the team here, bye-bye.